Order! 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 I call this meeting of the Church of England's Council in Hell to order. As you all know, we recently gave our demons the chance to vote on our current and future place within hell. The results have been confirmed. Apparently, the Church of England's hell domain has voted to leave the demonic union.
DEXIT, Demonic Exit, written by Cyrus Bales, starring Olivia Chappell, Rich Keeble, Addis Williams, and Cyrus Bales.
Well, what exactly are we supposed to do now? Any idea how we're actually supposed to do this? There is no way we can give them the things that some of you promised we could. Yes, I'm looking at you, Derek.
Actually, Prime Monster, I think you will find I never promised anything. They were merely just suggestions of what we could do.
Really? What about the big red carriage? All that nonsense about 350 souls a week scrawled across it?
Look, that was clearly just a suggestion. I never would have made such a pledge. I don't think anybody thought it was a promise and voted because of it. Anyhow, why are you picking on me? Jobo was on touring with the bloody thing.
Oh, I'm fully aware of Jobo's false promises.
Total whiffle waffle. Church of England demons are titanic individuals who are compos mentis enough to not take it ad literam.
Are they, though? These demons were stupid enough to get kicked out of heaven. We demons are the damned. A name that I can't help thinking is incredibly relevant right now.
Yes, thank you for that, Pedantrius.
Well, I think they'll thank us once we're out and standing on our own two hooves.
But what happens when they realise it was all a bunch of lies? With all the cutbacks in recent years, we are in no position to deal with these revolting demons. Well, revolting! I'm starting to think the demons down here are just as useless as the damn souls.
As demonic caretakers, they aren't just any old souls, they are our souls.
Yes, they are most definitely our souls.
Surely, all we have to do to appease them is take back control of our claws.
You aren't still on about that clause rubbish, are you? We've been over this already. As a member of the demonic union, we got to vote on claw regulation across the whole of hell. I mean, we haven't had our own claw manufacturing industry for centuries. So how exactly are we going to cope with the vital claw demands of modern-day demons,
Once we're out of the demonic union, we can build up claw trade with other places.
Other places? You mean places outside of hell? You want us to find a new supplier of claws for demons that isn't in hell?
Oh, of course it sounds silly when you say it like that.
When I say it like what? You mean accurately?
Well, I agree with Derek. There are more places than just hell, you know.
Strictly speaking, that is true. However, those places are heaven, earth, and purgatory.
Precisely. Do you think we could just get our claws from heaven? How could you possibly think that would work? And what about our brimstone? And our pitchforks?
Well, that's easy. We can get steel for the pitchforks from the Chinese.
Really, Jobo? The Chinese, they don't even believe hell exists.
Precisely. So they are de facto untapped market.
Honestly, you two are just the worst.
Well, we are demons.
Yes, but you're supposed to be torturing the souls, not me. Can you two just be quiet for a moment and let us grown-ups think? Come to think of it, Pedantrius, why do we even have democracy in hell? I mean, I can understand why we have neoliberal capitalism, since we are trying to make people suffer, but democracy?
Technically, Prime Monster, we don't truly have democracy, just the illusion of it, for false hope. Our two main political candidates are always virtually the same, so we only offer a damned if you do, damned if you don't approach.
But what about this stupid referendum? Why did we even bother to have it in the first place?
I believe it was to quell an uprising of the United Demonic Independence Community Party.
Yes, I'd almost forgotten about the U-Dick party. Why did we think it was a good idea?
Many of you seem to think the result was a sure thing, if I recall correctly.
Damn our hubris.
Well, yes, hubris is a sin. It's also a bit late to be damning the occupants of hell.
You know what I mean. Seems like a bit of a pride before the fall situation.
The fall? I hate to break it to you, Prime Monster, but that was quite some time ago.
Do you have to be so pedantic?
Are you asking if I have to be so pedantic? Me? Pedantrius? Demon of pedantry?
I'd forgotten about that. It's been a long day.
A long day? In the domain of eternal night?
Why do I even keep you around?
Can you think of anyone else better suited to be our head of bureaucracy?
You've got me there. Let's focus. We can't get distracted. What we really need now is a strong and stable plan.
I suspect we are more likely to freeze over before such a thing exists.
We need something bold to shake up politics in the Church of England's domain of hell. If we keep the demons distracted enough, maybe we can find a way to just let this all blow over.
Need I remind you that we are in this situation precisely because of doing something bold and distracting?
But this time, we can't risk our position just for a distraction. It has to be something time-consuming and full of publicity, but also an entirely safe and sure thing.
Given recent events, is anything entirely safe?
I've got it! The perfect risk-free diversion tactic. We will call a snap election. Don't say it, Pedantrius!
Say what, Prime Monster?
I know you're just bursting to say, I told you so.
Not at all, Prime Monster. Even I couldn't have predicted it would go this badly.
That's not comforting.
Who would have thought the Angelic Party would do so well? They don't even stand for the basic principles of suffering.
They don't seem to mind my suffering.
Did you know they even want to invest in a hellfare state?
Chin up, Prime Monster, and balderdash to that. You still won.
Only just, and with no thanks to you.
And what do you mean?
You stabbed me in the back.
No, I supported you, Ubi Concordia and all that.
No, you literally stabbed me in the back with a pitchfork numerous times.
Purely an accident.
Whilst shouting, you are not my leader, and babbling something in Latin.
I think you're completely misrepresenting the situation. I had no intention to offend anyone.
You are still stabbing me right now.
Non progredi est regredi.
Could you also stop with all that Latin already? Anyway, it doesn't matter now. We're all back to square one, all over again.
Actually, I would say that square one is an overly generous summation of our current situation.
Thanks for that. First things first, we need to identify the key policy areas to tackle. What were the big headline reasons demons voted to leave?
Converts. Bloody converts coming over here using our services.
All right then, what can we do about them?
It depends.
On what?
On whether you want our entire heconomy to collapse or not.
That does not sound ideal.
Indeed. We depend on the souls of the converted to run our domain. If we just got rid of them, we would lose their vital contributions that we demons really do depend on.
I'm almost starting to regret all those times we just blamed them for everything.
I don't. It's about time we had a sensible conversation about our legitimate concerns.
I don't think you've ever been part of a sensible conversation about anything. And pray tell, what are these legitimate concerns that you keep banging on about?
Well, for starters, there are just too many of them. We are full.
We live in the pit of infinite darkness which doesn't conform to the rules of the physical world or have physical limitations. We literally can't be full.
Yes, however, would you want to have to work with a convert? I know I wouldn't. And that is what the demons voted for. So we should get rid of them.
Even when that's going to be hugely negative for us.
It's what they voted for.
I think you'll find it was just a leave or stay question. No mention of specifics on the ballot.
But what about the bloody converts?
All right, Derek. Instead of ranting, how about for the first time in all eternity, you do something useful?
Like what?
We're going to need to conduct some kind of assessments to work out what the impacts are going to be. Do you think you could handle that?
Oh, easily, I'm sure. I can have thoroughly detailed reports done in no time at all. In fact, I've probably already got dozens of them lying around.
Oh, you do? You're not lying again, are you, Derek? Can we see them?
Oh, well, obviously I need to make them presentable first.
But you are going to do them, though.
Oh, of course, not a problem at all.
I hope I'm not going to regret asking you. So, Pedantrius, going forward, what choices do we have in terms of converts?
Well, either we can placate these leave-voting demons, thus decimating our economy, or we can salvage our economy but risk angering those demons.
That does not sound like much of a choice. So I think there's only one solution for right now.
Yes, Prime Monster?
I'll make some vague announcements, but then do absolutely nothing meaningful whatsoever to secure the rights of converted souls to be here, thus leaving the whole situation in horrible limbo for the foreseeable future.
A most evil suggestion indeed.
Why, thank you. What's next?
The big concern will be our trade relationship with the Demonic Union moving forward. You will have to negotiate an exit deal with them.
Negotiate? It's not exactly a well-known skill for demons to have. What exactly do I have to do?
You'll need to meet with their head negotiator, then probably come to an agreement about severage payment before you can make new arrangements.
Well, at least severing and destroying things should come naturally to me. Set up the first meeting as soon as possible.
As you wish.
Forget negotiating. We should just leave. No questions asked.
Won't that hurt our trade?
Yes, that would mean leaving the sinful market.
Good. We don't need it.
Hold on, Jobo. During the campaign, didn't you say absolutely nobody is talking about threatening our place in the sinful market?
Absurd. Of course I didn't.
I'm afraid you did. Multiple times, along with just about every demon you campaigned with.
Claptrap. There's no proof of that.
Here is a quote of yours directly from the Daily Telegraph. Once we are out, we can keep our position within the sinful market and make new deals.
Oh. That was just a slip of the tongue, I'm sure.
And here in the Daily Whale. Of course we will stay in the sinful market.
That's probably been taken completely out of context.
No, it was another one of your obvious lies. I mean, I know you're a demon, but I really think you take this dishonesty thing too far.
Well, of course I do. After all, I'm not just a demon. I am a politician too.
Yes. So, you're the chief negotiator for the Demonic Union?
I'm as confused as you. Negotiations are not exactly what us lords of darkness are really known for.
You don't have to tell me. Honestly, I'm hoping you can really just help us out of this whole mess.
I can completely empathize with you, is what I would say if I was not an evil demon whose sole purpose is to cause, how you say, suffering?
That may be the case, but can't you understand the situation I'm in? I can't go back on the vote because it would be too embarrassing and could start a revolution.
So you plan to ruin your domain, well, just to save yourself from the embarrassment?
If that's what I have to do.
Look, this is really not our problem. Why should we look out for your interests?
I'm not asking for help, exactly. Could you just go easy on us? No need to rake us over the coals, so to speak.
I know we are masters of torture, but that choice of words was too painful, even for me.
Let's get down to business. What are we going to do here?
We? You can do what you like. All I have to do is follow the guidelines. Guidelines which I seem to remember you lot having a hand in writing and voting for, no?
Can't you just give us the same sort of deal we have now, but without us being part of the Demonic Union?
I can't believe I'm saying this, but rules are rules, and we have to follow them. So no, You should have checked this first. After all, the devil is in the details.
Just give me something to go back with. Please help me out.
Help you? This is your own mess. Go back home and sort it out. Come back when you have some kind of a plan. Need I remind you, I am a demon, and the only thing stranger than me helping someone is my outrageous accent.
So,
bank robbers.
how did it go with the negotiator?
Not well. I have to give my speech to the domain soon, and I'll be honest with you here, I don't think I have any idea what I'm actually doing.
I'm afraid that hardly comes as a revelation to anyone, Prime Minister.
But there must be something we can do, someone we could ask for advice. Whatever happened to that rather unpleasant politician who was in the light aircraft crash? You know the one. We made a deal with him so he could go back to Earth and sow hatred and division. Ratfarge, or whatever his name was. How's he doing? Perhaps he could give us a few pointers.
Well, he is doing rather well on the spreading misery front. However, politics is not his strong suit. He's managed to lose all 7 elections he stood for, so I highly doubt he could offer any wisdom. What you need is a prominent statesman.
Ah, bloody good idea. There must be some real crackerjacks down here amongst the damned, yes.
Ooh, so, Pedantrus, who do we have down here?
Pretty much all of them, actually. This is hell, after all.
Oh, right, so quite a few then.
Why not give Churchill a go? That's the sort of fighting spirit we could do with.
That's not a bad idea at all. Wasn't he a great statesman? Come to think of it, why is he even down here?
Oh, you'll see.
Well, get him anyway, and we must have a few others worth talking to down here too. Show me the list, Pedantrius. I'm sure I can find 1 or 2 more on here you could bring up. Oh, what about Henry VIII? He did create the Church of England after all. He must know a thing or two about leaving a large institution because of his own arrogant superiority and not wanting to play by the same rules as everyone else.
Yes, Prime Monster.
So, Mr. Churchill, as you can see, our situation is somewhat problematic. I thought that being the great leader you once were, you might be able to provide us with a little insight.
I see. Well, as I said before, the best argument against democracy is a 5-minute conversation with the average voter.
That may well be true, but what do I do now? Even though it's only a tiny majority, if I fail to go through with it, there could be a revolt. Or if I go through with it, the domain will be in chaos, but not the kind we want. I'm really worried about the backlash.
Of course you are. Have you tried starving them to death?
Excuse me?
You know, cut off all of their food. Let them starve. Or even better, send in the soldiers. That'll see the strikers and rebels.
I'm starting to see why you're down here.
I bet you have too many of those pesky troublemakers. Because that sort of lower class always tends to breed like rabbits.
I think I should stop you there. And demons don't breed.
Well, as I'm going through hell, I should rather consider I should keep going.
Throw him back in the pit.
As you wish.
Ah!
That was a complete waste of time. Who's next?
We currently have Vladimir Lenin on loan from the Atheist Hell domain.
Atheist hell?
Yes, Prime Monster. It's exactly like any other domain of hell, but with the added annoyance for them of knowing they were wrong. We also like to pass them around from one domain to another, just so they can see how each religion was right in its own little way.
I see. So, Mr. Lenin, You've heard our plight. What do you have to say?
Have you tried a revolution?
No, that's the very thing we're trying to prevent.
Are you sure? Not even a little one.
Why would I, as the leader of this domain, want there to be a revolution?
It'll be fun. Trust me.
Can you offer me anything I can use?
It seems to me your problem is that certain demons have told lies so often, they've become truths. Propaganda is a powerful tool.
Yes, but what do I do about it?
It is a tricky one. You could send in the guards. A few soldiers should sort them right out.
Why do politicians keep telling me to use force to solve political problems? Can't you offer me anything I can actually use?
Well, there is one thing you could try, but I don't know.
Go on. We're pretty desperate here. Any ideas are worth hearing.
I'm not sure you'll like it.
Well, what is it?
A cheeky, little revolution!
Back in the pit! Let's ask Henry VIII. He has got to be better than those two.
This is hell. We aren't really well equipped for better, but here he is.
Come now, Henry. Tell me about your breaking away from the Catholic Church and how that came about.
Well, my first wife, she was so fat that I made up a whole new religion just to get rid of her.
Okay then. But what about the difficulties and rebellions that followed? How did you deal with that?
Just took them down the gallows and lopped off their heads.
I'm afraid that isn't going to work in hell.
Hell? I know all about hell.
Oh, really?
Well, I've had 6 mother-in-laws, haven't I?
What am I supposed to do with that?
That's what I said about second wife. She was so fat, I chopped her head off to help her lose weight.
Whilst I'm sure it's a touching story, do you have any advice on how to deliver the impossible to people who might revolt? Or how to change their minds?
Well, I changed my mind about my fourth mother-in-law. I went from hating her to wishing she were dead.
This is of absolutely no help when dealing with the challenges we face.
I could tell you about the hardest challenge I've ever faced.
I have a feeling I'm going to regret asking this, but do go on.
Well, the toughest thing I've ever had to face in all my years was waking up next to my 5th wife every morning.
Back in the pit!
Hey, up!
I'm starting to see a pattern with all these leaders. Isn't there anyone else?
There is one last soul we could try. But I warn you, we keep this one locked up in the deepest, darkest vault. It gives too many of the demons down here the creeps.
I'm willing to try anything.
I must caution you. Even the most vile of demons think this one is a bit too evil.
Perhaps ultimate evil is the perfect solution for ultimate stupidity. I didn't realise it got this cold down here in hell.
This is a very special case. But we are here now, Prime Monster. May I present to you Margaret Thatcher.
It's been so long since I've seen anybody. Come closer, child.
Okay then. Hello, I'm the leader of this domain of hell, and I have a problem I was hoping you could help me with.
So tell me everything.
Well, you see, there was a lot of tension over the demonic union that we depend on because, well, we kept blaming them for everything to divert attention from our own mess. However, we tried to put it to a vote, and the demons only went and voted to leave the bloody thing, so now we're stuck trying to deliver something that has no upside to a bunch of angry, vile creatures filled with hatred.
I see. So you're worried about what the demons will do if you don't deliver.
Exactly. I don't want a revolution on my hand.
Yes. Yes. I think I understand the problem. May I offer a solution?
All right, but it better not be sending in the troops or cutting off heads.
Nothing like that, child. No, nothing like that. You seem to be worried about what the demons think whilst trying to make the best outcome for the domain. Yes?
Yes, exactly that,
Therein lies the problem. Stop caring about the well-being of your subjects. Who cares if they suffer? Just make sure you are all right. Let them have their horrible wishes, just so long as you look after your own interests. Profit from them as best you can, no matter if everything falls apart, as long as you are taken care of.
You really think so?
Yes! Yes! Sell off! Privatize everything you can! And secure your future! Damned with everyone else!
As Pedatrius often likes to point out, they are already damned.
Let them all suffer!
Pedatrius, I'm not sure about this.
How so?
Is Thatcher and are her ideas just, too evil? So, from what I've been able to gather, our options seem to be do what's best for our domain of hell, but then need to suppress a rebellion, or do what's worse for our domain of hell, just to placate some demons.
And what if the demons change their minds?
Oh, Christ on a bike, I hadn't thought of that. Oh, do you think it could really actually happen?
The younger demons are certainly not in favour of leaving, and it won't be long before they are the majority.
Well, what can be done about that?
You could just keep telling everyone about how it was the clear majority that voted and that we need to get on with it.
Ah, yes. It wasn't exactly a convincing majority, though, was it?
Well, of course not. But many of them will be too stubborn to admit they didn't know what they voted for. Rather than admit ignorance, many will happily change their views to match whatever shape leaving takes. So we don't really need to worry about them.
But what about the rest?
I would imagine that the more fervent and fanatic we can get supporters of leaving to be, the more we, and everyone else, can blame them when it goes wrong.
Oh, but at the old, we were just following orders type thing.
Exactly, Prime Monster.
Oh, any thoughts on how to stoke these fires, so to speak?
Well, as has clearly been demonstrated, logic is not going to work. But sound bites are key.
Ah, just like all that taking back our claws nonsense.
Precisely.
Oh, I think I've got one. Rather than discussing what we actually want from the negotiations, we can just keep calling for the right deal.
Excellent. Might I also suggest that just before you say something that will be incredibly vague and meaningless, open with the words, "Let me be clear."
Yes. And instead of answering questions, I can just say, DEXIT means DEXIT.
Quite brilliant, Mum.
Yeah. Let's set up a cabinet meeting and get this rolling. Okay, everyone. We now have a plan.
Ah, Bonham indeed.
After consulting with the most vile of evils, I have realised we're approaching this whole matter wrong. Instead of trying to look out for the interests of our domain as a whole, we should be prioritising our own individual interests.
And what exactly does that mean for our DEXIT plan for the domain?
Obviously, the whole thing's going to be an absolute disaster. But that is the best part. We can blame that on the voters. The important thing is that we sort out our own interests so that we don't go down with the ship.
Okay, but do tell us, how do we go about using this catastrophic situation to our advantage?
We use this whole DEXIT nonsense as a power grab to bypass snarlement completely. Claim we need to be able to ignore the system because this is such a vital issue. This lets us do whatever we want with unchecked power, like removing workers' rights and so forth.
So what you're saying is that there isn't really a plan for DEXIT after all?
Of course not. You don't plan on how to have a horrible accident. We simply have to fail at every step of the negotiations, but blame it on the demonic union. All we really have to do is make it look like we're doing something.
Oh, I see. Well, pray, Clara.
And to that end, Derek, do you have those impact assessments for me?
The what?
Impact assessments. You know, you said you'd compiled lots of them. This is just the sort of thing we can show the demons to make them think we're actually competent.
You see, I don't recall ever saying impact assessments.
I seem to remember quite clearly asking you for them, only to be told you already had them in great detail.
I believe I said reports. I never once would have used the words impact assessments. Small reports with some basic outlining.
I clearly specified impact assessments, not tiny little reports. I wouldn't expect this level of pedantry from Pedantrius.
With all due respect, Ma'am, he isn't being a pedant. He's just being a dick.
That may be so, but I still need to see these reports of yours, Derek.
Oh, reports is such a strong word, though. Think of them more like outlines.
Just show them to me. Are you kidding me? This is just a haiku with too many syllables and a selection of snake drawings.
Snakes are an important part of our culture.
I can't show this to the demons.
Why not? It's because of the shading, isn't it? I knew I should have used a 2B pencil.
Used a 2B pencil. You should have done some actual work.
Let's be fair here, Prime Monster. This is probably Derek's greatest contribution to government so far.
All I know is that leaving will be bloody brilliant and we can finally take back control.
The sound bites are for the voters, not for us here in government.
As I was on the committee for fisting and anger culture, I can tell you we can finally take back control of our fisting industry.
Are you still banging on about that? We've been over this. The profitability of our fisting industry is now the best in the DU.
And what about job losses for demons in those industries?
We both know that is mainly just because of technology. And frankly, when it comes to modern-day Church of England sinners, fisting just isn't even a punishment anymore. Some of the vicars have even started asking for it.
But what about the bloody converts?
Yes, thank you for your input, as useful as ever. Now, has anyone actually got anything helpful to add here?
Given recent form, Prime Monster, I highly doubt it.
How about the internationalist angle?
Go on.
We can claim that by leaving it lets us broaden our trading partners and influence.
You aren't talking about China again, are you, Jobo?
Of course not, don't be ridiculous. Talking about Russia.
Russia? Really?
Yes, they share a lot of our views and values and seem to be rather popular with the demons who voted to leave.
Don't you think that might be a bit of a hard sell, what with them mainly being Orthodox Christians?
Nothing Orthodox Christians love more than looking down their noses as Protestant sinners.
Well, all right, I'm with you on that one, but what does that offer us?
Well, with our diminished power upon leaving the demonic union, we need to forge new relationships. Perhaps we can trade our resources for their help, yes?
I'm not sure I like where this is going.
Why, yes, we could give them part of our domain for the privilege.
Hold on, are you suggesting we let Russia annex part of hell?
But come now, we aren't so different. Many demons would welcome it. After all, they were very helpful during the referendum.
I'm sorry, what do you mean, helpful?
It's nothing.
Have you been taking money from the Russians?
No, of course not. Just some souls.
Did you say souls?
Look, I think we can all agree that Russia has only our best interest at heart, and we shouldn't be flinging blame about willy-nilly over who promised souls to whom.
Hold on. So the Russian government promised you their souls?
Don't be silly, everybody knows they don't have any. They merely offered me first dibs when they push into the Ukraine next spring.
Wait a second. What do you mean when you say they offered me first dibs?
Of course, I meant us. I meant you, Prime Monster. Why would they offer it to me? I am obviously not the leader.
Oh, ow! Are you stabbing me in the back again?
Sorry, I am awfully clumsy with these pitchforks. We'd been much better with some sturdy Russian-made ones here.
Just leave me alone. My decision is final.
I'm sorry, Prime Monster, but this is not what we voted for.
It seems like every DEXIT here voted for something completely different. You can want something all you like, but that doesn't make it any less unrealistic.
Come now, Derek, this is the time we should be rallying behind our Prime Monster and showing togetherness.
I can no longer be a part of this government. I officially resign my position, allowing me instead to complain relentlessly from the sidelines without offering any workable solutions whatsoever.
Oh. Well, in that case, I also resign. Bye.
What? Wait! You can't just leave. Fine. Good riddance to the both of you. Oh my good. Now I can finally focus on the speech I have to give to the domain later.
Can I give you one final piece of advice for your speech, Prime Monster?
I could certainly do with it, Pedantrius.
The real key to politics is to use as many words as possible to say as little as possible.
My fellow demons, the time is upon us to take control of our destiny. We have listened to the overwhelmingly vast majority of 52% and will now take action. We are all coming together as a united domain. There is no need to talk of the tiny minority of 48% when we can now become a universal domain of hell. Let me be clear. There has been a lot of talk about hard or soft DEXIT nonsense. That isn't important. I will tell you all what will happen. We will deliver a red DEXIT. The clear will of the demons is that we leave the sinful market. Even though it was never mentioned before the referendum, it is what you demons voted for, regardless of claims to the contrary. We will still have full access to it, precisely because we don't know what that means. When it comes to putting our economy first, absolutely nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. I won't let the demonic union bully us with their attempts to follow previously laid out procedure that we agreed to beforehand. No, this will not stand. I will tell them, as I am telling you, even though they are exactly the same thing, no deal is better than a bad deal. Of course, nobody is saying that this will be easy. There may well be hard times ahead. But this is a necessary path for our betterment. Some of you may ask, how do we solve the issue with the Methodist border? So, let me be clear. We will be a universal domain of hell with a universal solution. And please remember that no matter how difficult, bleak, or torturous DEXIT may seem, we can always take comfort in knowing that it could be worse. At least it's not as ridiculous as Brexit.
That was DEXIT Demonic Exit, written by Cyrus Bales, starring Olivia Chappell, Rich Keeble, Addis Williams, and Cyrus Bales. The music from David Turner.